Well, thank you so much for joining on the podcast, Jon and Lisa. This is the House Hacking Podcast, Joel and I. But tell us a little bit about yourselves, how you got your start, and just kind of who you guys are.
So my name's Lisa Moore. I got started in about 2017, and it was with house hacking. Fast forward now, we own 38 doors, over $7 million worth of real estate. I have a fund. We do debt lending. We do equity deals. And house hacking is where it all started.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and I'm Jon Moore. I started in 2004 house hacking before they called it that. And I knew I didn't want to pay rent because that would mean me spending more hours at my low-paying job at the time. And I also didn't want to make the whole mortgage payment myself. So that's where I got into house hacking, rented rooms. And from there, it kind of snowballed over time.
Gosh, I'm so excited for this podcast. I've been wanting you guys on since we first started, and I'm just, because I know it's going to be great. But basically what we do is we want to dive in and we want to ask you more pointed questions on what your experience has been so far and just kind of learn from you guys is really what it is. So the first question that Joel and I were thinking about is just how did you guys even first learn of house hacking? Like how did that pop up in your mind?
I mean, I'll start because my parents did rental properties. I worked on them growing up, but I realized that a lot of people probably listening to this podcast maybe don't have those opportunities, which is why I'm here now. For people that don't have that influence, I want to share that with other people. So that's how I got the ideas from my parents. And hopefully somebody's getting the idea from this podcast.
Yeah, and I knew nothing about it. I didn't know that it's called house hacking. I just knew that I wanted to go from renting to owning a home because I wanted to start owning rentals and building that equity. And I knew that real estate was a great way to build wealth. And I didn't want my expenses to go up. I didn't want to have to cut back on travel, the fun things. So when I was looking at a house, I knew that I was going to rent a bedroom and put it on Airbnb to help supplement that increase of expenses from owning a home. So that was my thought process. But I never knew anyone that did it. I'd never owned real estate before. I was just like, this just seems to make sense. Let's do it.
So if it wasn't house hacking back then, did it have a name or was this more of a strategy mindset that you had?
It was more just a strategy. I think Brandon Turner is the one that actually started the house hacking term. It was always a strategy. He just put a name to it.
Okay.
And I knew a few people kind of, at church and stuff that were renting rooms out in their house. And, it still is quite normal. It's just a normal thing to do. You don't need the whole house and you're a college student. So funds are a lot tighter. So it's very common. You don't have to be a college student to do it either.
I was going to say, especially in Utah, there's so many unfinished basements that are just there. And it's guys, make money off of that thing.
Yeah. I mean, I was in my 30s when I bought my first house and house hacked. And we just moved into a new house in July. And it's the first time so far we're not house hacking.
Wow.
We say we're not going to, but we're already like, there's like this we could do, there's this. So
just love sharing your space. It's great.
It's easy money.
Yeah.
I was going to say 38 doors and you're still house hacking.
Currently, no, but it's always going to be in the back of our minds.
Yeah.
Like, oh, crap, something came out of left field.
So 38 doors and then 4 months you haven't house hacked.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how many times have you house hacked? If you could quantify it by like purchases, like how many house hacks have you bought, owned, and lived in and rented out a portion?
Well, you were at 3 when I met you.
About 3 and then
Wentworth.
5 together.
Yeah.
Well, including my 3 plus the 2 we did together.
Well, no, because we did Wentworth, we did Normandy, we did the triplex.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. The triplex, we didn't stay there for very long.
No, that one. We moved to Ogden and realized we like Salt Lake a lot better.
Yeah.
So we actually, Ogden is actually a great area, but all of our life is in Salt Lake. So
Just the way that you said that was just awesome.
I know, and that I don't mean
The look on your face.
to dig on Ogden. It is a great place. They have a great downtown. They have great access to the outdoors. But when you lived in Salt Lake and then you like move away from all of your friends, all of your stuff, it was like, all right, I'm just driving down.
City life to kind of small town.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it sounds like together you guys have done like 8?
Yeah.
8 of them? Wow. That's freaking awesome. Good stuff. So you guys have had renters with you for a long time throughout a lot of different properties. What, when you were very first in kind of this groove, what was the most surprising thing that happened as a first-time landlord for you guys?
Well, I mean, we've all heard landlord horror stories, and I'd heard them from my parents. So from the get-go, I had a pretty strong emphasis on screening tenants, but once in a while, you'll still end up with one that is not great, or maybe it's just a compatibility issue, especially if you're doing rooms like the way I started. So I guess just having somebody in my house that I'm really uncomfortable with, and having that tension there, that is probably one surprise, but it's everything else has been pretty gravy. I mean, I look at the amount of hours it saves me from working a job, which I've never really enjoyed, my day job. So it's overall been way worth it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. For me, I think the most surprising is how much we have to teach our tenants. Like, they're like little children that haven't
So I'm only laughing because I know it's true.
grown up in the world.
How to
Like,
use the garbage can even.
yeah.
Just really basic
way.
stuff.
Yes. Like,
As-
just some of the questions we get. I'm like,
Yeah, as recently as last week, we had somebody, a tenant complaining about another tenant not putting their trash in the trash can.
yeah.
Okay, well, we need to find a solution to this. If it's overflowing, ask us for another
There's
trash
normally a
can.
bag in there.
Yeah.
There are options. Don't just put it on the
Oh my
ground, just stuff like that. But we're educators at heart, so
Yeah, it's that was definitely by far the most surprising. And they were like, "How do I pay rent? Like, I don't know how to log in." I'm like, "You are 25 years old. I'm pretty sure you're somewhat tech savvy. You
or
can
should
log
be.
in. Like,
You're
it's
glued
just,
to your phone all day.
yeah, yeah. That to me has been like, just I feel like so many in our experience, like the 20-year-olds that are moving in, it's like they've never been taught like how to be an adult. Like, they don't know how to budget, and they don't know how to take care of things and whatnot. So like, it literally is like, I feel like we are like teaching these like kids how to be adults.
the other thing I notice is I just lost my train of thought, but anyways,
Back.
it'll come back.
So
Edit that out.
So the most surprising thing was essentially, in addition to being a landlord, being an educator,
Yes.
which most people don't think about.
Well, and educating them on like what's the landlord's role. Sometimes they'll call if the power is out. It's like, okay, check the breakers. If that's not the problem, then you need to call the power company. Just basic things like that.
Yeah.
No Ritz Carlton, do it all for them
Yeah.
service.
No,
No, not ours.
It's like, hey, I woke up and I didn't have breakfast in bed.
Yeah.
What? My mom
This-
did that.
This wasn't in my lease. Yeah.
yeah,
the
some of
laundry
them.
service?
Yeah, we do have to, and we do have to have our own boundaries, which is a big buzzword, I know. But like some of them will ask us for things that have nothing to do with us as landlords, and we'll be like, well, you might want to try this or that just to be helpful. We'll,
But that's spoken like a true seasoned landlord, because most
Yeah.
first-time landlords do not set boundaries, and that's
Yeah.
why they get run over.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point. Absolutely.
Yeah, boundaries are definitely so crucial, because tenants will really push to get like especially with rent. Like, for us, the first year of a tenant, there is no leeway on rent. Like, if they're not making payments and if, like, they have an excuse, sorry, like, because we don't know like if it's a legit excuse or if they're just not, just seeing what they can do. So like, the first, we don't waive late fees. We don't do anything. If we've had a tenant for an extended period, like we've had in the past, we'd had them for, I don't know, a year and a half. Great tenants, always paid on time. He was a construction worker, like blew his knee out, and they're like, hey, he's not gonna be able to work, but he's already started applying. Like, here's what we can pay. Here's when we get caught up. And we're like, okay, like we'll work with you as long as you stick to the schedule. But a tenant that's been with us for like a month and is like, hey, like, I can't pay rent this month, or like, it's going to be late. Can you waive my fee? I'm like, no, no, I will
The
not.
fee is there to discourage them from paying late, and we're not doing anybody any favors by allowing them to get behind. It's just so hard to get caught back up. So, we work with them as much as we can, but we don't compromise on certain boundaries.
No.
So what would you say then to a first-time house hacker landlord that feels nervous about things just like this, tenants who don't pay? How can you help someone doing this for the first time feel less nervous?
I would say there's always a solution to every problem, and there's also lots of ways to reduce your risk of having a problem, like screening. There's no guarantees. You have to understand there's never going to be a guarantee that you'll never have an issue, no matter how much you prepare. That risk is always going to be there, and if it wasn't there, then it wouldn't be a good business.
Yeah.
But everything has a solution.
Yeah, the screening is definitely the number one thing. And we, like, some of our requirements is you have to have a 650 credit score or higher. And if you don't, we need 2 prior landlord references. Like, biggest tip, never take reference from a current landlord, ever.
And this is a recent policy change with us.
True.
Yeah, like,
We've been.
I bet I know why, because they want them gone just as much.
exactly, like,
Yeah, there's some
They do.
there's some dirtbag landlords out there, and I think that's
Yeah.
part of why we have a bad name, because there are some real dirtbags out there. for
yeah.
sure.
100%.
So, like, we never, if they have a bad credit score, we never take references from a current landlord. It has to be prior. But the credit score is a huge indicator. Like, I don't know if we've ever had an issue with somebody who has a credit score above like 650, 700.
No, I mean, some people can be rather dirty despite
Yeah.
their high credit score, but really, I mean,
They always
yeah,
pay.
yeah.
Like, that's probably the biggest indicator in screening. And you can, like, a little bit of research online or reaching out to us, like, hey, like, it's the biggest thing and it's what people do the least of. And a lot of people just will, like, default to, like, a friend or someone they know and not do any screening, not look into, like, will they pay rent? Do they have a good credit score? They don't check anything. And that's what, like, gets them into trouble.
I was going to say that's the most dangerous thing. And I tell my clients, I tell people who ask us questions all the time, like, just because you know them doesn't mean they're a good tenant.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that they're going to be treating you like a landlord. They'll be like, hey, I'm your buddy. What kind of deal can you cut me?
Yes.
Or, oops, I forgot this month. We'll just forget about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's I don't know. I'd rather have a stranger in most cases.
Yeah.
And you guys are stroking our egos a bit. You don't know this, but like all the classes we teach and the landlord content we create, like you've nailed it on the head. 650 plus credit score. For every problem, there's a solution. It's just like,
really is.
thank you for validating what we teach.
Yeah, setting expectations too. You know, just be prepared to have an issue. Probably, I don't know. They're not so common that we're not continuing in this business. They're in fact the opposite of common. And if they were that common, we just wouldn't be in the business. We'd find something else to do.
Are you guys self-managing still, or have you delegated some?
So we have our units in Illinois. We have an 18 unit in Illinois that we have a property manager for. And then our units here in Utah, we self-manage. I do have a full-time VA that does 90% of it. But everything that we've trained her and given her SOPs and all that stuff.
Cheaper than a property manager.
It is, and she can do other stuff for us. And it's way better because she works directly for us. There's nobody else that she's trying to take care of, no other units, no nothing. So it's just financially been a very smart decision for us.
And you don't have to answer this, but is the VA, are they out of the country or are they in local?
They're in the Philippines.
Utah? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you get pretty good quality for the price. Out
Yeah.
there. Like,
Yeah, we've been
it's awesome.
very happy.
And just having better information, knowing what's going on, knowing the status of vacant units. Whereas working with a property manager, it's like playing the game of telephone, trying to get accurate information.
Yeah.
So it was worked well for us.
It's one of the things in real estate where, like you said, every problem has a solution. But the thing is that all of these problems have happened before to someone.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing really new. You just have to find somebody who it's already happened to and be like, dude, what did you do here?
Yeah.
And then like you could get help from other people. Like other landlords are willing to help. But people just feel like if they take this step, they're just on their own. And it's like, well, see you later.
Yeah.
But it's just not the case.
Yeah. I mean,
and you could Google search and find all the answers.
yeah. I mean, that's one of my favorite things about real estate is I'd say 99% of the people I've met with in real estate, we will share and tell you everything of what we have done, how we've been successful, what our numbers are. Like, it's just such for the most part, a very sharing community that's like, we all know, like, none of us could do all the real estate out there of any type. So it's just the abundance mindset. Like, the more people you help and the more you give and the more people that you can be successful in this, I don't look at it as competition or taking business away from us because there's zero chance that we could do everything. So
100%. And kind of going off that same almost, I don't know, scarcity mindset, but just mindset in general, because you guys have approached this with like every problem's a solution, you know, house hacking is the way to be. I don't want to pay my whole dang mortgage, you know? Like mindset is like such an important thing going into this. So with that and with the given market conditions, do you think that house hacking is going to start becoming a more commonplace way to get into a first home for most people? Or is it still just kind of like an investment?
No, I could see it going either way. You know, it's not, you can do it as long or as not long as you want. I mean, it's a way to get your foot in the door. I see so many resources now for landlords, but I also see a lot of doom and gloom, a lot of really discouraging content on social media that says, you know, millennials will never be able to buy a home. And that'll be true for certain millennials for sure. But, you know, it's not like no millennial ever, or Gen Z, or whatever generation you want to pick. There are ways of doing it. It doesn't necessarily have to be house hacking, but house hacking is one of the most effective tools I've found.
Yeah.
And I could see, you know, the market conditions are not going to be this way forever. And they could get worse. They could get better. We don't know. But for now, you know, house hacking is timeless, I think. I think it'll always work.
And for like getting into real estate, it always cracks me up. People are like, I'm going to get into real estate. I'm going to start easy. I'm going to flip houses and wholesale. I'm like, dude, how is it? Always baffles me. I'm like, what are you paying for rent? I'm like, your easiest way in my opinion, is like buying a property. Like there's so many first-time home buyer programs. Like my first home was like 3% down. They still have programs where it's 3% down, 5% down, like first-time home buyers. Like there's so many programs out there. And then if you add on the house hacking, there's a lot of lenders now that are also starting to use that income right away if you're going to house hack, because they know that as affordability and stuff gets harder, that they need that. And I think with more education, I think house hacking will become even more popular, just because it's not only a great way to get started, but it could also be like the only way you may be able to get into a home. You may have to, and people look at it like they have to realize that this is not like forever. This is not like, oh my God, I have to share my house with somebody for the rest of my life. Like,
Unless it's you guys.
unless it's us and you become
Given your
addicted.
track record.
You become addicted to it and you just find out that you really like it. But I think people just have to realize like, this is your foot in the door. And like, I've had people tell me, and this always like shocked me. They're like, well, I wouldn't want to like rent my basement. I wouldn't want somebody below me. I'm like, dude, you live in an apartment building with people above you, below you, and on both sides of you that you have no say who that is. Mm-hmm. When you house hack, if you're renting your basement or something, like you choose who's down there. Yeah. Like you get to make that choice, but it always baffles me if you're like, oh, I wouldn't want somebody in my basement. I'm like, you live in an apartment building.
The favorite thing is when people are in a townhome and they're like, see, I have my own home. I don't have to share it. And I'm like, bro,
share a wall.
If I knock on this wall really hard, I bet you somebody else will knock back.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it's really not much different, but everybody just feels like it's the whole mindset thing. With it. But I think it's crazy.
The other myth that I'd like to dispel, you know, the thing that I see a lot on social media, which drives me absolutely crazy, is they say, you know, I bought my first house in 2004, back when they were cheap. And I got to tell you, that $850 mortgage payment, I know it sounds cheap now. That's what you'd get out of a bedroom. But at the time, I was charging like $250 for rent for a bedroom, including utilities. And that mortgage payment was scary to me. I was, you know, and I was a college student, so I wasn't making a ton of money anyway. So what the scary payment back then is similar to like what a scary mortgage payment is today. So you just can't compare today's prices with 20 years ago and say, oh, they were cheap back then. No, they were not cheap back then. That was a lot of money back then. For me, it was scary.
Yeah. It's always hard to get into a home. Like, I think most people, it's not like this easy thing. Like you've got to work for. I mean, what's the stat? It's like less than 50% of people could even like be approved for a mortgage. So like, it's not something that is an easy thing to do. And it never was. I mean, you talk to people, I mean, my parents, they're like, it was very hard. Like, and this is back in the late 70s, early 80s. They're like, it was very hard for us. Like, it was a very big leap of faith to like buy a home and stuff. Like, most people will tell you when they bought their home, it was difficult and it was scary and it was stressful. They were worried about that financial commitment. But I don't think I don't think it's like this easy thing that people just left and right were buying houses and like, this is easy. Woo!
It's
back in the day.
It's the glorification of it. It's like, oh, back in the day when a house was 60 grand. And
Yeah.
yeah, but your annual income was like 10.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
it's very, it's
Yes.
just, it's kind of the same thing that John was saying. It's very much like, oh, millennials will never be able to buy a house. It's like, no, that's not true,
Yeah.
because I help millennials buy houses all the time. I help Gen Zers buy houses all the freaking time.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, are the people willing to do what's necessary to do it
Yes.
and take the risk? And most people, I feel like, are just wimping out.
They don't want to lower their standard of. You look at like
There you go.
the
That's
size
better.
of a house back in like the 50s, 60s. I think it was like less than 900 square feet. I think the average house now, like starter first time home, is like 2,400 square feet. My first house was less than 800 square feet. Like,
And no asbestos.
yeah. So like
Tiny.
it was tiny, but that's what I could afford. But for me, it was like, I would rather get into this tiny home because this is what I can afford. And this is my starting point. This is my foot in the door. So I think a lot of people, and nowadays, like you look at all the extra expenses people have nowadays than we did even 10, 15, 20 years ago with cell phones, with how many streaming services do you have? How much do you pay for your Grubhub? Like all these added expenses where people are like, I can't afford. Like we have tenants. Oh, we can't afford this or blah, blah. And then they like, I see their bank account for like proof of income. And I'm like, you spend hundreds of dollars a week on Grubhub. Like, so I think there's a lot too where people have a much higher standard of living today and they want to keep that standard of living and they want to keep up with everyone else and they want to be able to say they have all this stuff instead of being like, you know what, I'm going to sacrifice for 3 to 5 years. I'm not going to have all these things. I'm going to cut back because I know this can get me into a house and it's going to set me up to be in a way better financial situation the rest of my life, as opposed to like, I need all these things right now. I need this fancy car. I need this expensive apartment. I need these streamings and all this extra discretionary spending that people have nowadays.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine who was like, I wanna buy something, and then shortly after, a DoorDash showed up, and she was complaining about not having money, and I was just like, I kept my mouth shut, but I was just like, that is why.
Oh, see, that's why people
Well,
like
one
you.
DoorDash.
They don't like me. I'd have been like, well,
I was like, I know the problem,
yeah.
but I'm your friend, so I'll just not say it.
Yeah, to me, like talking about this is another social media thing I see a lot. You know, Starbucks, Grubhub. Yeah, you do those things once in a while. They're not going to
Yeah, that's
keep you
fine.
from buying a house, but you annualize those expenses. Okay, what's a year's worth of these expenditures? And look at that pile of money when you add it all up, a year's worth of that. What can I do with that money? You know, in my case, when I was house hacking, I'm like, okay, I've got this crappy old dirt room in the basement. I could take those few $1,000, put it in the basement, rent that out. So it's just a lot of creativity. You can find other ways to still enjoy life. And some of those things do cost money. You do want to enjoy life in the here and now, but you also want to prepare for your financial future.
Yeah.
So you can house hack and still enjoy life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
I would argue that you
Cut
house
that mortgage
hack.
in half, man.
I've enjoyed life more because of house hacking. Because like our last house, they paid like 97% of all of our living expenses.
Wow.
We basically lived for free. So for us, like to not have housing expense, like it allowed
Liberating.
us. Yeah, it allowed us to do more. It allowed us to have more financial freedom. And I had a friend one time, and they were like, made a comment about like if they wanted to move, they're like, oh, we could just like up and go somewhere and blah blah blah. They're like, but you guys would be stuck here. I'm like, you kidding me? I'm like, I'd rent my house out. We'd be making even more money. I'm like, I have more freedom than you do. I'm like, you're tied to a W-2.
Yeah.
I'm like, we do this full time. I'm like, we wanted to up and go. I'm like, we'd rent our house within a few weeks and we'd be off with even more money in our pocket
We'd
coming
be getting
in. Like,
paid to go
yeah.
on the road. Yeah.
so
You'll get one of those Mercedes Sprinter vans, and you would just travel the country and find more house hacks.
we've done that, but not in a Mercedes. in a pop-up
Honestly,
camper in the bed of our
I was
truck.
gonna say the Mercedes sound all things, but they're all kinds of trouble.
Yeah.
So we're running short on time, but I just want to ask, because you've
Yeah.
house hacked so many times. For those that are listening, house hacking can be like a single family home with a basement rental, could be a detached ADU, could be a triplex. Out of all the house hacks you've done, which one was your favorite and why?
Ooh. I don't know. Probably the most recent one.
Yeah, I'd say the
Normandy.
one.
Just because the way, you know, we separated part of the backyard for us and we still enjoyed that space and still had quite a bit of privacy And we had exceptionally quiet tenants. They were fantastic.
Yeah.
This was a detached ADU or
No.
No, this was in our basement.
Okay, basement.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've done like renting bedrooms, we've done the triplex, and then renting a basement. But yeah, I'd say that one same, like we specifically looked for a house that where the entrance for the basement apartment, we could build a fence so they had their own little yard and ours was separate, so we had full privacy.
Nice.
Even like in our backyard. And that's the one that pretty much paid like almost all of our living expenses.
Let's go.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for hopping on. We've loved learning from you, your experience, and just helping people realize that it doesn't have to be scary and it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be this big, huge thing. It's just
Or if it is
Making
scary,
it
that's
simple.
okay. You know, you can work through that fear and get past it. I'm a fear-prone person, so if anybody's listening that's afraid, just it's okay to be afraid.
Yeah.
Move forward.
that's the key, is you still have to move forward even
Yeah.
though you're afraid.
It's always scary. Every property we've bought, everything we've done, like there's always that little bit of fear. Like you're like all confident, then you're about to close and you're like, oh crap.
Even up to the 38th door, you're still
Yes.
like, oh man.
Yeah.
Even still,
It's
it's like
still
every
scary.
deal we do, you still have that little bit of like,
'Cause
okay, we're about to sign this.
newsflash,
Right.
each one gets more and more expensive as prices
Yeah.
go up. So it never really stops being scary.
Yeah.
But you guys have been able to see that even though it's scary, it's been unbelievably beneficial.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But no, thank you guys again. We appreciated having you on.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.